What did we learn from 49ers general manager John Lynch's press conference today? Actually, kind of surprised me. I was not expecting at all. And I said, oh, we have John Lynch press conference about 15 minutes. All right, let's do it. And sure enough, John Lynch spoke for nearly a half an hour talking about Brandon Aiyuk, draft plans, guys coming back, Brock Purdy. Talked about a lot of different things. So, what we're going to do is talk about some of the things that we have learned from the press conference. Do we feel any better about the Brandon Aiyuk situation based on the comments from General Manager John Lynch? All those different types of things coming up right now. But you already know what to do. Drop your SDS in the chat, smash that like button, and let's go. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Woo! Hopefully, you guys are doing better than I am. I feel like straight up trash. Also, phenomenal last name, by the way. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have been so sick since like what, Friday? Friday, Saturday, literally could not move. Was feeling a little bit better yesterday, did a bunch of stuff around the house. And then I made the mistake of drinking way too much caffeine. And I literally did not sleep last night. My throat hurts. I can't breathe through my nose. So I apologize for how I sound. You might hear some sniffles. You might hear me cough. You might hear all kinds of stuff. I don't know. But we're going to we got stuff to talk about. It's draft week. We've officially made it. My guy Sebastian said that's everyone, man. My whole shop is sick. Yeah, my wife got it, I got it, my kids got it. So it is what it is. I'll try not to do too much snifflies, but I will have this nasally sound for the majority of the show. Hopefully that doesn't bother you too much, but I do apologize. But let's talk about some of the things that we heard from in regards to John Lynch as he spoke to the media today. Now, obviously, we'll start with the number one topic. It's been the number one topic since the Super Bowl has ended. And if you guys are just like me, you cannot wait to get closer to clarity. And with the NFL draft being just a couple days away, that's exactly what this is. We are getting much closer to clarity because Brandon Aiyuk, the situation that's been ongoing with him, the contract situation, all that good stuff, we will have a much better idea of what the outcome will be once we get through the draft. Because the San Francisco 49ers are not trading Brandon Aiyuk after the draft. Just doesn't make any sense. So, what did we learn from John Lynch today? He said, our wish is that he is here for the rest of his career, which is true. I do believe. I do think they wish that he could be here for the rest of his career. And also, too, on top of that, we can just hear from him directly. And there are a couple things that I believe he said that are interesting in regards to this whole situation. Let's play a couple
Me
of the
what the
sound
draft
bites.
signifies. It's an
And also make sure, hopefully, you guys can hear this. Um, uh, hopefully, so let me
To
know.
me, what the draft signifies, it's an
Can you hear
opportunity
John
to
Lynch
improve your
speak at the
organization,
moment?
to infuse youth,
It's
to
always
infuse
presents as a
competition, to infuse
challenge,
speed, to infuse
one way
toughness,
or the other. But I just want to make sure,
dependability,
can
all
you
the
hear
things
John
that we
Lynch
really
speaking
covet.
right now?
This is an opportunity to do that. Um, and so I can't wait.
Yes,
And
beautiful.
with that, I'll open up questions. And before,
All right. So he's about to go into his situation about Brandon Aiyuk. And so this is my rule. It doesn't matter if it's John Lynch. It doesn't matter if it's Dave Gettleman. It doesn't matter if it's Al Davis. When you listen to people in charge speaking in a media setting about roster transactions or I would say more potential roster transactions, the number one thing that I am listening for is definitive language. So I want to hear definitive statements about the player in question. So I'm just gonna throw that out there, and then we'll listen to John Lynch talk about Brandon Aiyuk, his hopes for the situation, and what it could mean, what it might mean, and what we hope for it meaning. But let's take a listen right here as John Lynch talks about Brandon Aiyuk.
questions. I know a couple years ago there was a lot of talk about another receiver, Debo, and I said the same thing. But with BA, BA, I've communicated on a couple occasions, on many occasions, our wish, and our wish is that he's here and a part of the Niners for the rest of his career. We're working through that, and as such, I was a player once, and I never liked my business being out in the public, and so I'm going to respect that. I'm not going to speak for their side. I can say we're having good talks, and I'm just going to leave it at that, and we'll focus on the draft here today.
John Lynch knew that, John Lynch knew that wasn't going to be the only uh, questions he was going to get. I know he was trying to kind of get ahead of it with the opening statement, but I think it serves journalists well to follow up and just try to ask a couple more questions. And there's one question that he didn't even let get finished that kind of stands out to me, but we'll take it as it comes. So when he says, we wish, I love the sound of it. I think it sounds great. Like I would wish that George Kittle as a 49er for life. I wish that Trent Williams will retire with the 49ers in a couple more years. It's one of those statements. I wouldn't say it's a definitive, like he's saying that they're getting through it, they're working through it, and things will get done. Perfect. I do believe that to be true. I do believe they're communicating all those things for sure. But again, I think my example that I used when I posted a video about this previously was when John Lynch spoke about Nick Bosa. He was always speaking about Nick Bosa as in definitive terms. Like Nick is going to get paid. Nick is going to get to be one of the highest paid. Like he spoke it like into existence that Nick Bosa was going to get this contract. Now, obviously, I had never heard John Lynch speak about a player, you know, with an upcoming uh, contract negotiation like that before. Uh, it was new territory because I think he meant it. Like, I really think he meant it. There was not a situation that existed where John Lynch would think otherwise, that he would get traded, that he wouldn't sign. So he was very confident in saying that. So for not only leading the year leading up to the contract, but even years prior, like he was alluding to it, like this is going to happen. We are going to pay Nick Bosa. Um, Now we haven't heard that same type of language used with Brandon Aiyuk. I do think the language being used is, I think it makes me feel a little bit better. Again, because I think our ultimate goal as a fan base is to get BA back. I think we all believe that Brandon Aiyuk gives us the best chance to get back to a Super Bowl. And at least that's my thought. Want to keep him together with Brock, want to keep him together with Debo, CMC. I want to keep the gang together. And I don't think any 49er fan, uh, there might be some that would be willing to move on. But that's just my thoughts. You got one of the best dual threat wide receivers. And when I say dual threat, I talk about receiving and blocking. And he fits what we do so well. And he's such a dog. I don't want BA to go anywhere. But let's listen to continue to play out. And again, I don't think there's anything jarring or alarming that came out of this press conference. I thought it was well said. I thought it was positioned in a light to make us be optimistic about Brandon Aiyuk returning with the 49ers. But again, I think just the important thing is that we just don't have anything definitive about it just yet.
But that's just want to understand you guys have a job to do and respect that. But that's kind of the tone I'm going to take there. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
When you guys communicated, did you use emojis or words?
There you go. The first question. We communicate well, and we love the guy. So thank you.
First of all, I love the question. Did you guys communicate in emojis? Mike Silver having some fun with it. Keeping it light. John Lynch alludes to that they're still having conversations, which is a good thing.
He's not. Yeah, he's not here right now. No.
So there were some mixed signals earlier that Brandon Aiyuk was at voluntary workouts. We found out that he actually wasn't at voluntary workouts, even though he's been in the building this offseason. He has been doing his offseason program in Arizona. So he's with his team right now. And so that came through, I believe, before last weekend that we had, seen him in Arizona training and doing all that good stuff. So he's not on voluntary workouts, which, again, voluntary. I don't think it's a big deal. But he is working. He's still putting in the work. So I don't think it's a big deal one way or the other.
Previously at all?
No. Yeah. Sure. We receive calls about a lot of players. Yeah.
Given permission?
Okay. We receive calls about a lot of players, of course. And I would imagine, that's a roundabout way of it. I think saying that, people are calling and checking in on the BA situation as they should. I think it would be really weird if no teams were calling on Brandon Aiyuk. You know what I mean? Like, we're all looking at this from the outside looking in. And I think we could all agree that just from the outside looking in, if no teams were calling to see what a maybe price tag would be for BA was or anything like that, would be weird. Like, BA is a second team All Pro, just turned 26 years old. He's an ascending player. If no team was calling on BA, that would be weird. So John Lynch basically, in a roundabout way, says yes, teams are calling on him. Not going to give up specifics or divulge specifics, which, again, smart. That's what a good GM should do.
To his side to go.
I'm not.
This question he didn't like at all. This was the question that I think stood out to me. Where he didn't let Matt finish. Typically John is very he used to be in the media. right? He is a former broadcaster. He understands the game. Like he said at the beginning, you guys have a job to do. I respect it. And this question was coming from Matt Mayoko, who is arguably the most respected 49ers beat reporter. And the question that Matt was asking was, has Brandon Ayuk and his team been able to be in contact with other teams? Let me double check that that's the question.
Sure. We receive calls about a lot of players. Yeah.
Given permission to his side to go.
I'm not going to get in all those details. We're really focused on BA being part of us. He's under contract, and we're looking forward to that.
And I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. John Lynch shutting it down, and kind of not, giving that question much room to breathe. Because again, he's already made it clear of where he stands. He doesn't really want to talk about it, get into details, get into what's going on behind the scenes. But I don't know. I think that's how he should have handled it. I thought he handled it decently well.
Nick both said the years with their contract things went into the summer, or
Yeah.
even later, that it impacted the way they played that season.
Yeah.
It negatively impacted the way.
I think this
Right.
part
Knowing
about
that,
paying
is
him
that-
early.
maybe just in terms of the timeline of trying to get something done with BA, is that
Yeah, I think that's important. I think there is, human nature is that deadlines force these things, but I think you can always learn from situations, and you'd be a fool not to. I'd like to have our business tidied up at a little. Those things they ran the course they needed to, and I'm proud of our record of getting the guys we want to get done. But I'm right there with everyone else. I'd sure like it to happen sooner. So.
I believe John Lynch 100% when he says, I wish these deals would get done sooner. I've had a couple rants on here. I've been covering the 49ers like I really started doing this 2017. I've been following every move the 49ers have made since about 2010. Which again, offseason moves, drafts, free agency, contract negotiations, and as we know the pacing for the contract negotiation. It's painful, it hurts, it's stressful. A guy like we thought who was the biggest home run contract negotiation in 49ers recent history went all the way to the wire and had everyone stressing. So it's like, I think John's 100% truthful in that. He's saying, we all wish these things could come. It could happen sooner, and all those different types of things. So I believe that. And I think later on, John Lynch talks about Brandon Aiyuk. Does he, see Brandon Aiyuk not being on the roster on Friday? He says he doesn't anticipate that. And again, nothing John Lynch said locks him into any type of box that he can't get out of. Good GMing. So what did we learn about the Brandon Aiyuk situation? I don't think we learned a whole lot. I think what we continue to re-emphasize is that the draft is a deadline. I think the draft is our deadline. I think many things can be true at once. I think the 49ers could absolutely want to retain and keep Brandon Aiyuk for a long time. And I could also think that they are also going to listen to anyone who calls, whatever, whatever happens. So my biggest thing is I think the vibe of what John Lynch had talked about was a good vibes. I would say I think he really tried to position it in a positive light, which I would say is a good thing. I wouldn't say there's a whole lot of definitive language, which again, I don't mind. in regards to these situations. I think that's to be expected. So we're fine with that. And again, he doesn't anticipate being, you know, anything happening. But as we know, everything happens when you get close to that deadline. And so we don't anticipate a lot of things happening in our lives and all of that. So we just have to, I still remain of the mindset that the most likely outcome is BA. You know, we get through the draft, BA's on the roster. Now we got to do the wait and see contract negotiation situation before training camp. But I do believe, you know, the 49ers have made it abundantly clear that if someone calls and makes a good enough offer, they'll consider it. They'll consider anything. They traded DeForest Buckner, so not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying I'm keeping an open mind until draft day. Uh, I think draft day is going to be hella fun. I think draft day is going to be hella fun. I've been heavy on JJ McCarthy to the Commanders, and literally every single person says I'm a crazy person. Um, I've been saying it for about 2 weeks now that I believe JJ McCarthy is going to go number 2 to the Commanders. Everyone's like, "Oh no, it's Jaden Daniels. It's Jaden Daniels." And I'm like, I don't think so, guys. Um, and I really do. See right here, JJ top 5. um, I look at Adam Peters and I look at a guy who had Trey Lance and has had Brock Purdy. And when you look at JJ McCarthy, I see a guy who I've seen him make every throw on tape. I've seen him make every throw, every type of throw imaginable. Now, obviously, his biggest knock is the amount of how much he throws and things like that. But again, I tweeted this earlier today, and this also has a relation to the whole JJ McCarthy at 2 thing. Is people just are so quick to chalk up quarterback evaluations to physical attributes. And not only does JJ McCarthy have the physical attributes to get it done, but I think if you really had to look at this objectively, I have zero skin in it. I don't care, like, one way or the other, what the Commanders do. I don't. That's why I'm just giving honest opinion. Um, but I would say that JJ McCarthy has the highest intangible grade out of any of the quarterbacks in the NFL. I think he's the most CEO like. I think he's the best leader. I think he is going to be a Brock Purdy type. I think he has those intangible qualities. But on top of the intangible qualities, he has the physical traits that you want in a top tier quarterback. Now, has he gone out and has he performed, like a Caleb Williams, like or what have you, like in regards to like all the crazy wow throws and all that good stuff? Probably not. But he operates a pro style offense. I would say Michigan was probably the closest to a NFL environment in college football that you could have. When you think of probably the offense that Adam Peters wants to implement, it's probably going to be very similar to the San Francisco 49ers. Even though Cliff Kingsbury is running it, I still would assume that everything Adam Peters is going to do is going to be in the image of the San Francisco 49ers. So when I look at JJ McCarthy, and again, I've watched JJ McCarthy in like a reverse evaluation. I wasn't evaluating JJ McCarthy. I was evaluating defensive players that were playing against Michigan, and he just kept popping. Flash, 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 flash throw, flash decision. Really just like I was like, dude, that's the stuff that we get hyped off Brock doing. Like standing in the pocket tough until the last second to make sure his wide receiver clears the lane as he has a free rusher, Michael Hall, about to come clean his clock, and he's just waiting, patient, and at the last second, boom, off platform, puts it on the money. Escapes out of the pocket, deep throws, short to intermediate, screen game. So, listen, uh, I get it. People are buying the JJ McCarthy hype. I'm not asking you to. Not asking you to at all. I'm projecting and reading the situation, and that's how I read it. And the betting odds have absolutely swung uh, in that favor as well. But that doesn't matter. I think it's going to be fun. I think Jaden Daniels has a chance to be a Raider. And we could see a situation where the Raiders move up to 3 with the Patriots, take Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels links up with Antonio Pierce. And then what becomes fascinating, do the Raiders try to go get Brandon Aiyuk? I don't know how they would do that. I don't know how they would execute a trade up from 13 to 3, because I guarantee you they would have to mimic the trade compensation the 49ers gave up from 12 to 3, which was a first round pick swap plus 2 future firsts and a future third, I believe it was. So that's what the Raiders would need to give up most likely to get Jaden Daniels. I don't know what's left over for Brandon Aiyuk if they were trying to do that as well. But I think we're going to see some fireworks at this draft. Like I really think that there's so many good players at the top of this draft that I think we feel like we have it figured out, and I don't feel like we do. Just like the year when Baker Mayfield went number 1 overall. No one was saying Baker Mayfield was going number 1 overall except me. Everyone said Sam Darnold was going number 1, and I was like, no, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have the intangible qualities. Now Baker was a different case, but Baker had some dog in him. And so that's why I said Baker was going to go number 1. But the point being is I think there's going to be a lot of movement. I think there's going to be a lot of trades. I think with the quarterbacks in this class, Michael Penix getting top 10 consideration. There was a moment that some believed, Michael Penix wasn't going to be a first round draft pick. Now he's getting top 10 consideration. All the quarterbacks going high for the 49ers are a good thing. And John Lynch talked about the draft plans that the 49ers have and kind of how they're viewing their board. I saw KP put this out from what John Lynch had said. And the 49ers put 83 draftable grades on players this year. In regards to first round grades, they have 22 in this year's class. And to be honest, that feels really accurate to kind of what I have seen. When we look at the kind of top 100, top 150, I know Daniel Jeremiah put out his top 150 today. But when excuse me. when I think you look at the top 20, when you hear that they say there are 22 draftable, 22 first round grades, I'm like, yeah, yeah, I see that. I see that. That feels very realistic. So what does that mean though? Does that mean the San Francisco 49ers are potentially going to trade up? I think the 49ers are going to be one of those teams. I think the 49ers are going to be one of those teams that are moving. I think the 49ers are ready. I think they're going to be one of the most aggressive teams in this draft. And we could see some absolute fireworks. John Lynch also said they have 16 gold helmet prospects too. And these are basically their way of saying draft crushes. I would bet money. I would bet money that Troy Fautanu is a gold helmet prospect. I would bet significant amounts of money that he's on there. And, John Lynch also talked about the offensive line, state of the offensive line. Um, he talked about evaluating offensive line, how Chris Forrester originally didn't see the vision for uh, for Jonathan Feliciano. And again, for me, that's another feather in my cap, because if you guys follow me on Twitter, when we signed Jonathan Feliciano, I watched 4 games of his on the All 22, and I was like, dude, I think we just got one of the most underrated. This guy might be the most underrated signing of free agency, because this is a starting caliber offensive lineman who can play in our scheme. He can do the things that we need him to do. And for me personally, I don't work in the NFL. I just outside looking in. So when you hear things like, oh, the 49ers offensive line coach didn't see the vision, and then you got guys like me who throw on the tape and are like, yeah, we see the vision. We see it in 2020, like crystal clear 4K vision. And he turns out to be one of the more impactful players in the 49ers run to the Super Bowl, because of him having to fill in an injury for both Aaron Banks and Spencer Burford, switching from left to right, back and forth, and then earning the starting job in the playoffs. So, and the other points that he was making about the offensive line was the fact that it's hard to project based on the offenses that they play in now, and how to project them into the NFL. And that's always been something that I feel pretty confident in my ability to do, um, in regards to kind of evaluating who can and who can't. Um, so, regardless of any of that, I do think the San Francisco 49ers are going to be looking at offensive linemen. I just don't know if they're going to be first round offensive linemen, because if you're picking at 31 and you don't move and you don't trade, do you just sit there and take the offensive lineman because that's what you think you need? I don't think that's what they do. And you guys also know I've been hot on this from the very beginning. Um, Even being like the resident, 49ers offensive line guy, I have been the guy saying that, like, hey, pump the brakes. I don't think it's a guarantee that we're taking O-line at 31 or even in the second round. Like, we could punt completely on offensive line until the third or fourth round, because we have more pressing need at defensive tackle. We have more pressing need at cornerback, potentially, maybe linebacker, edge, tight end 2, wide receiver, with how it all plays out. So I feel like as we get closer and closer to the draft, I think people are starting to see it. They're starting to see what I've been talking about. They're starting to like understand, like, okay, yes, we want offensive line because of the last thing that we saw in the Super Bowl, but it is important to remember that that same offensive line that took them to the Super Bowl is returning. And you have to think about, if Jonathan Feliciano is your day one starter out the gates, that is going to significantly upgrade the right side of the offensive line, opposed to kind of like what we saw last year. So it's going to be, this is what I think I love about all of the draft conversation from John Lynch, is that I think anything can happen. That's why I'm so excited about this draft. Is I'm really less worried about trying to predict what the 49ers are going to do. First of all, I try to predict what they're going to do. And you guys I've spoken about it before. I have my own thought process separate of the 49ers. Like, there's a plan of action that I would execute. And there is a plan of action that I think the 49ers would execute. And I juggle between these two ranges of outcomes. I honestly am not really, I don't really care, because I just can't wait to watch it all play out. I think it's going to be a very entertaining, eventful, I think we're going to move. I think we're going to move all over the place. And I think we're going to do things that no one's expecting. And so we're going to get a lot of people hemming and hawing like, oh, they didn't take the offensive lineman at 31. But they maybe trade into the mid-20s for a player that they really like, defensive tackle. I still think if I've seen like Jerry Newton and a couple other first-round defensive tackles kind of sliding a little bit. If the 49ers had a chance to get a legitimate first-round defensive tackle, you better believe they are going defensive tackle over offensive lineman. That's really what I believe. And especially if there's no tackle there. If there's no tackle there, you can punt on interior offensive linemen without even flinching. So if there's not a tackle you like I saw in Daniel Jeremiah's Daniel Jeremiah has Kingsley Suamataia as his 124th ranked prospect. That's a fourth round. That's like a late fourth round pick for Kingsley Suamataia, who many fans, hey, even myself included, based on the upside, and I've made that abundantly clear, that he has a ton of upside, but he is a project along with a lot of the other offensive linemen that you would be taking at 31, hence which has led into the entire thought process all draft season that the 49ers are in a position to take guys who are going to contribute now. Not it's a and John Lynch talked about it. There's a duality. You have to think ahead. The 49ers have a lot of free agents coming up. You have Aaron Banks, who's going to be a free agent. You have Jalen Moore, who's going to be a free agent. You have Jonathan Feliciano, who's going to be a free agent. Um, we have, I think Brenda will be heading into maybe his final year. I got to double check that. I'm not really sure. But that offensive line, they need to think about building that offensive line for the future as well. So that's why I'm so fascinated by this draft. I'm so fascinated by what they're going to do because everyone's so sure of what they're going to do, or they make it seem so sure. But I I think there's a lot more gray area than people are anticipating for sure. And I think that's going to make for the same. I think it's going to make for fireworks. I think we're going to have some fun, man. I think we're going to have a blast with what these guys do in this draft. Justin said, Brad, I hopped on Rakestraw Jr.'s IG Live and asked him some questions. Sent you a draft nugget. Oh, Twitter? Okay, okay. So Enos Rakestraw has met with the 49ers and he sees Darius Robinson going there. Okay. I think Darius Robinson was like the first prospect I came across this year. I think Darius Robinson was the first prospect I came across this year. I maybe watched like 5 college football games, but one of the first games I watched this year was Mizzou game, and Darius Robinson just absolutely jumped right off the screen. I was like, "Oh, who's this guy?" It's like, "This guy's good." He is not your Brian Burns defensive end. He is your what is he? He is a powerful bull rushing edge setter. He's a power defensive end. He has some speed, for sure, off the edge, and he's a good prospect. Uh, and the combination of him with Leonard Floyd would be very interesting. I'm still really excited to see how YGM fits into this whole situation. I really am. I think he's going to be a big time underrated player for us. But fascinated to see what happens. They could absolutely go cornerback. They could absolutely go defensive end. They could go in a bunch of different ways. I definitely do think we'll see a trade up. I think a trade up is coming. I think the 49ers plan throughout this, and especially, kind of listening to John Lynch, I think they're going to be very aggressive. I think they're going to be very, very aggressive in this draft. I think that, right now with this is the first time like we're ever entering a window like this before with the 49ers where they have all their core players, but man, we understand things could potentially be looking a lot different for this team next year, just based on the evolution of how these things play out. So I think we've talked about it many times. The sense of urgency to win the whole thing is at an all-time high. It was at an all-time high last year. Now take that up and crank it up by 10. The sense of urgency to win the Super Bowl this season will be at the highest it has ever been, probably since the Steve Young era. I don't think we will ever feel we haven't felt this feverish of like expectation to win since Steve Young was the quarterback here. And I was 6 years old. No, I was still technically 5 years old when the 49ers won a Super Bowl with Steve Young. So I can't even speak directly to those expectations, but I'd have to imagine this is absolutely the most urgent this team, this organization is to winning right now. So, with that being said, I think the 49ers aren't messing around. They got to do what they got to do. They're in a crazy scenario. Crazy scenario of having to win right now, but also build for long-term sustainability. They got to hit, man. This got to be an all-time draft, and I think it really can. And one of the things that John Lynch had said was that what did he say? He said there was like 35 draftable players that returned to college because of NIL. And he said because of that, you aren't going to get the same crop of talented prospects at the back end of the draft. So thinking of that, we're like, well, you don't want then those 7th and 6th round picks. You want to package those up and move up as much as you can because you're going to have a better success rate at hitting on guys who have draftable grades. So with that logic in mind of like what John Lynch is talking about, I absolutely believe they're going to be aggressive. I think they're going to be aggressive. I think they have to be aggressive. I think they have to be smart, of course. But that's why I'm really looking forward to this draft. And I really have been for like the last 2 weeks because there's so many ranges of outcomes. There's so many things that they can do. Hold on. I got to use my custom snot picker upper. Oh. Oh, sorry. I got a nose leak. Woo! Boy. It is challenging to speak at the moment, but I'm too hyped not to. Ooh. I think I'm hyped. I'm hyped for this draft, man. I haven't been hyped for a draft like this probably since the Trey Lance draft. Speaking of Trey Lance draft, Zach Wilson got traded today. Man, what happened? What happened to that class? Man, we thought that class was going to be so freaking good. Oh my gosh. Zach Wilson traded to the Denver Broncos for the free. It was a great trade for Denver. They got him for nothing. For free. So that's good. That's good. Justin says, why do I feel like with how humble Cowing is combined with his vibe, the top 30 visit and his tape, he could be a gold helmet prospect for them? On it, I mean, he has a great mentality. I told you I talked to him. Oh, I remember I said I was going to send you that interview. No one was talking to him. So I got to kind of like just kind of post up and have like a solid 5-minute conversation with Cowing, just about his overall mentality. Again, being a smaller player, uh, how he has to overcome that with his heart and with his mindset. Dude was cool as hell. Um, Super chill. Uh, he was cool. Like he's the guy that you could tell just he would be a vibe. Like he's the kind of guy who is friends with everyone on the football team. Like he has no enemies in that locker room. Uh, Cowing's cool as hell, but you can tell that he has a monstrous chip on his shoulder. He's got a big chip because he's got that he kind of got that chihuahua mentality. And I'm not saying that in a bad way necessarily, like those chihuahuas are small as hell, but they be yoking up on you like they're pit bulls. Like, and I'm not saying like he's all bark, no bite. He's actually no bark. He just brings a lot of bite. He's a good player, man. He really plays beyond his size. And to me, that's the biggest key element of trying to determine if a guy who doesn't have the desired measurables, how does he translate? Well, first of all, does he look like he plays larger than he is on tape? And if he does, there's a good sign that he will have success and that will be able to translate to the next level. Ego says, I went to the Super Bowl and I'm still traumatized. We need to win in New Orleans. I'll never be the same. Yeah, man. I was there too. I was there too, watching the whole drive, just watching Patrick Mahomes march down the. Oh yeah, that was good times, great times. Bring it back to trauma. Hey, we're 49er fans. We feel nothing but pain. One day. Let's win the draft, though. How about that? Can we win the draft? Like that will make me happy. I feel like we haven't won the draft recently. I don't know if anyone else feels like that, but I don't feel like we won the draft in our division. I felt like the last 2 years Seattle's had a better draft than us. I feel like the last 2 years, even without first round picks, the Rams have had better drafts than us, and I really liked Arizona's draft last year. I don't feel like we've won the draft in our division in the solid 2 years. I'm trying to win the draft, baby. And we know the 49ers go by the beat of their own drum. They could care less, about the way other teams have players ranked, perceived, whatever. They do their own thing and they've had success doing it. John Lynch talked about that today. He's talked about the gold helmet guys and how much success and the quality track record that they've had. Uh, I get it. I feel the same with my draft crushes, baby. I feel the same with my draft. They have gold helmets. I have draft sons. I got firstborns. I feel like, I have some firstborns, that, didn't pan out like we thought they would. But I would say the majority of my firstborns, my draft sons, make a papa proud. So I get it. I totally understand having complete and utter faith in your ability to evaluate, project, and rank. So I can't fault the 49ers one bit for potentially going against the grain of anyone else. They've earned that right. They've hit. We've had a couple. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But we got to see. Leon Sandcastle, former first round draft pick on the channel. What is good? He says, question, Brad. Feliciano has said he thinks he plays best at center Do you think he could be an upgrade over Brendel at center? I'm really curious to see how Brendel plays because Brendel had the first 2 games of the season were really good. He played really well. And then he kind of took steps back and then he really struggled with kind of your prototypical nose tackle, your power, your bull rush and nose tackles. He really struggled. Yeah, I think back to DJ Reader versus Cincy just gave Brendel fits all game. Um, I do think, as it currently stands, based on what I watched on tape last year, that heading into this season, that Jonathan Feliciano is currently our best interior offensive lineman. I feel very confident about that. I feel like the tape bears that out. I feel like both Aaron Banks and Brendel were inconsistent. I know Banks dealt with a bunch of injuries, right? Banks was kind of in and out for a good portion of the year. And I was really anticipating a big step forward for Banks last year. I think injury could have definitely played a role in that. But I would say, and this is the way I'm answering this question, is I would say that Feliciano's our best interior offensive lineman heading into next year, as it currently stands. Um, so he could play center, he could play left guard, he could play right guard. But I think based on what I've seen, he's our best interior offensive lineman right now. He has the juice. He's really smart. Um, he plays really well within what we ask him to do, and he really doesn't miss assignments. And I think that's been the trouble with our 2 guards right now is we just have been missing some assignments, and that's really challenging in an offense like Kyle's. Peyton says, "Yo, Brad, could the pick depend on what the other teams in division do? Like, if the Cards take Marv, could the Niners put some emphasis on taking a corner?" Mm, I don't think so. I I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Like, I think when you bring in a Charvarius Ward in free agency, you're looking around your division and you're like, "Oh yeah, we have we've got DK Metcalf, we have at the time DeAndre Hopkins, we have Cooper Cup, now Puka Nakua." Um, yeah, I think Charvarius Ward signing was like, yeah, we need a guy to come in here to match up with those types of guys. Um, from a draft standpoint, I think the draft is more internally focused than externally driven. I think the teams and what they got going internally, they're more focused on identifying the holes that they have, kind of looking to see where they can get better. And if you're just fundamentally improving your roster, you would be able to manage guys like this a little bit better. And like that's why we talk about a potential cornerback in round 1. Um, a Rakestraw in round 1 if you can get him. So I don't think necessarily that it's going to be a situation where they're like, yeah, we got to match what these guys just drafted. I don't think that's the case. I think the 49ers and any team should be more internally focused on just building their roster. I would say free agency is more of like, all right, we have a need, we can go pay for it, and we can fill that hole like boom. plug it immediately, opposed to trying to draft, develop, and those types of things. So we shall see. This draft has to be an A plus 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 plus. Yeah, man. It's a big year. Penn State Prod says, I'm hearing a lot of Aiyuk being traded. Steelers seem like where he goes. What do I think? I think anything's possible. I'm definitely not going to be one of these people who are clowning you if you think there's a potential that Brandon Aiyuk gets traded. I'm not going to be one of these people who are clowning you if you think there's no chance in hell that Brandon Aiyuk gets traded. That's just not how I view football. I think if there's anything that we've learned about the NFL is that it's extremely fluid. I think things happen in a blink of an eye that you could never be anticipating. And I think there's things that happen that most people don't even know. Like there are so many things, like we talk about the trades that happen, but we never talk about the trades that didn't happen, that could have happened, that were discussed, that were thrown around, but ultimately, no, we decide not to. Like that stuff happens all the time, and you're never going to hear about it, because why would you? Why would you? Why would you discuss that? So again, my mindset with the BA thing is this: like, open mind. Open mind. If he gets traded on draft night, I won't be insanely surprised. If Brandon Aiyuk is on the roster after the draft, I won't be insanely surprised. I'm gonna let this thing play out, man. You guys know I'm a range of outcomes person. I shuffle through all the potential ranges of outcomes. I assign percentages to what I believe and what is trending in the most realistic direction, and I let it play out, man. Um, I think anything can happen, to be honest. Uh, I think anything can happen. But we'll see. And if we get through to the draft, the BA's here, we're hyped. Let's go. We move. If he gets traded, fireworks. Either way, the same thing remains. We are waiting and seeing. Um, I don't think anyone definitively knows what's going to happen right now, unless you are 100% tied to that situation. But I don't even know if those guys know for a fact what exactly is going to happen. So we'll see. We'll see. 22 first round grade, 16 gold helmet designations. Great sign. Absolutely. If Enos is still there in the 40s, do you trade up from 63? Yeah, if there's any player that you want in the 40s, trade up. Trade up. If there's any player you want in the 40s, move up. Package some of those 6 rounders, 5th rounders, move on up. Go get the guy who's going to have an impact. What's up with the bloodline comment Lynch made today? He was talking about the Brendan Rice, Luke McCaffrey, Frank Gore Jr., Owen's kid. He was just talking about the legacy players, the legacy prospects that like seemingly all have ties to the San Francisco 49ers. It's been one of the bigger NFL storylines is all the legacy players. Oh, this is a great handkerchief. Great handkerchief. Ooh, boy. Do a mock. I'm gonna have a mock draft coming out tomorrow. I think it might be my final real mock. This is gonna be a real mock, not a mock where we're flipping hotel cards. I might do two. I might do a me mock. When I say me mock, a mock that I would like a mock draft that I would do, and then a mock draft that I think the 49ers would try to do. But yeah, I got mocks coming up. probably gonna do two. It's our last opportunity to do a mock draft. I might even come on later for a quickie. We'll see. Purdy keeps talking about BA in past tense, kind of leaves everything in a gray area. I've picked up on a couple things from additional players saying things about certain things. That's why, like, again, like, anything can happen. Anything can happen. You know, this is a business. This ain't I don't know what the word is, but at the end of the day, this is about getting your paper. And it's either going to be by the team that drafted you or by someone else. We saw AJ Brown get traded. We've seen Devontae Adams get traded. We've seen Tyreek Hill get traded. I know it's hard for us because we're super close to it. And we're like, oh, we could never trade BA. But it's like, well, why not? Why couldn't we? Any player. Like, again, I got some stories. So at the end of the day, we just gotta wait and see. That's it. If the Chargers offered 5 for Aiyuk and 31, would you take it? The only way if I took it is if I knew it was essentially going to be a 3-team trade where I give up Aiyuk 31, we get 5, drop back to 13, drop back to 10, trade back, get additional picks. That would be the only way. I would not trade BA and 31 for 5 and just sit at 5. I know the players that would be available would most likely be Neighbors, Malik Neighbors. But I would need more. So that's why it would need to be almost like a 3-team trade where I'm trading up to 5 and then trading back and getting additional assets back to make the overall haul more valuable. And if I'm the Chargers, I'm just taking a wide receiver there. Do you think excuse me, do you think the Chargers could be trying to get JJ McCarthy? Do you think that could be a possibility? I mean, literally, like look at what Harbaugh has done already. Greg Roman has already brought in 2 running backs from the Ravens. Jim Harbaugh has brought in 3 or 4 of his former players to the coaching staff, guys he's worked with in the past. You know, these guys got their circles. You know, Jim. The thing is the money. It's the money part. That's the part I wouldn't get. Is I think they have some astronomical cap issues that I don't even think it makes it feasible uh, to think like that. So my thing with the Chargers would be to ask them, well, why would you? Why would you trade for a great player, uh, but have to pay him when you're already super up against the cap? You're taking in the shorts with Keenan Allen's contract and the other wide receiver, Mike Williams' contract, and they just paid Herbert. I don't know. I feel like I would think that Jim Harbaugh has the leash to draft a rookie and just develop a rookie. Then to like feel the need to go out and get a guy who's win now or like a proven vet. Uh Brad, that beard is looking gorgeous. Thank you. It's been through a lot these last couple days. Sick as a dog. Sick as a dog. Oh boy. Malik Neighbors for BA is basically what the trade would be and dumping BA's contract. Yeah. 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 I mean, it would definitely be a cost control move, and you'd still be able to get really quality talent as well in that scenario. But I want to look at Daniel Jeremiah's top one. Oh, I can't! You stupid son of a biscuit eating bulldog. All right, well I can't, so I have to read it to you. He has Caleb Williams 1, Marvin Harrison 2, Rome Odunze 3, Malik Neighbors 4, Drake May 5, Jaden Daniels 6, Brock Bowers 7. Is Brock Bowers going in the top 10? Joe Alt at 8, Tyrion Arnold at 9, Talisi Fuwaga at 10, Troy Fautanu at 11. I have Troy Fautanu ahead of Talisi Fuwaga. And it's not even particularly close. I think there's a full level jump ahead. Like I think Troy is, bro. People sleeping on Troy. I don't get it. I don't get it. I watched 2 games of Fuaga. He's a good player, and he's going to be a good player. And he really has a lot of high upside. He definitely fits the mold of your prototypical tackle. Troy is so much better than he is. I wouldn't say so much because that kind of makes it sound like Fuaga's not that good. Fuaga's good, but Troy's a freaking unicorn, man. I think people are afraid of how tall he is. Quinyon Mitchell at 12, Dallas Turner 13, Jared Verse 14, Fautanu Fallen 15, Latu Fallen at 16, Brian Thomas 17, JC Latham at 18, Byron Murphy 19, JJ McCarthy 20, Chop Robinson 21, Graham Barton 22, Amarius Mims 23, Cooper DeJean 24, Jerry Newton 25, Tyler Guyton 26, A.D. Mitchell 27, Kool-Aid McKinstry 28, Edgar and Cooper, 29. Lad McConkey, 30. Xavier Worthy, 31. Enos Rakestraw, 32. 49ers said what? They had 22 first round grades. 22 first round grades. Really curious. I'm really curious if the 49ers have Malachi Corley with a first round grade. I'm really curious if they have Darius Robinson with the first round grade. I'm really curious. I would bet my bottom dollar that Graham Barton is a first round grade for them. I would bet that Lad McConkey is a first round grade. I think Kool-Aid is a wild card first round grade. I think his talent says first round grade. I think the background check would confirm if he is a first round grade. I would say AD Mitchell's first round. I don't know. I just get the sense the 49ers don't like Tyler Guyton very much. Could be completely wrong with that. Jerry Newton to me is a first round grade. I haven't watched Cooper DeJean, so I can't say. Amarius Mims is too much of a project for me. I would say no to the first round grade on him. I would say no. And he just doesn't seem like he fits what the 49ers even want at tackle. Graham Barton, absolutely first round grade. Chop Robinson. Ooh. Chop Robinson. Does he have a first round grade? DJ has him ranked as the 21st best player. Chop's issue is production. His production doesn't match the upside. But it's a double-edged sword because you could have said the same thing about George Kittle. His production would definitely not translate to him being a quality NFL tight end. And here we are. He was the only tight end that had 1,000 yards last season. Byron Murphy I would say Byron Murphy first round grade. J.C. Latham first round grade. Thomas Gray, yeah. Do you think the 49ers could somehow make my dreams come true and draft Troy Fautanu? Am I dreaming at this point? Or I don't know. I feel like Troy could sneak into the top 10. Like, I feel like that's how crazy of an athlete he is. Troy's a dog, man. Troy's a dog. I feel like he could be a top 10. Is Troy left tackle? Troy could be whatever you want him to be. That's why he's also a dog. He could be your left tackle. He could be a fullback if you wanted him to. Like, Fautanu could literally be a fullback and destroy people. Fautanu could be pretty much whatever you want him to be. That dude is an athlete. And what do you want to do to mitigate these insanely athletic defensive tackles and defensive linemen? Put athletes against them and see what happens. Troy Fautanu is probably the best athlete in this class from the offensive line standpoint. He's a dog. Yeah, I agree. The only way to get up high enough would be you'd have to move something very pricey, very pricey, which would likely be BA, which would be the biggest double-edged sword of my life. You know how painful that would be? Like, oh, we finally went and got one of your prototype draft sons. Woo! But it only cost you Brandon Aiyuk. Oh, no. 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 Oh. Oh. No. Man. Who is the opposite tackle of the Huskies? Rosengarten. Conveniently, it's never discussed that Troy Fautanu also works out with Joe Staley. That is conveniently never discussed. Only with Roger Rosengarten, though. If listen, man, like I got no problems with Roger Rosengarten, but if we took him at 31, yikes. Let's see, what does DJ have Rosengarten ranked? We were just looking at Daniel Jeremiah's top 150. And like I've said, I've watched just as much Rosengarten as I have Troy Fautanu because I've watched them simultaneously. And again, there's a big difference of scouting off of test times and being able to discern functional traits as an offensive lineman that project well to the next level. And while he has a really quality snatch move that I've seen him use a lot, he's got good size, and he's got active feet. He falls off blocks too inconsistently, or he's too inconsistent when it comes to maintaining blocks. To have him as a first round, like he is not a first round prospect, in my opinion. His traits are extremely intriguing. But that again, being biggest, fastest, strongest doesn't mean you're the best at the NFL. Damn, where did he put him? He put him at, excuse me. And I think the reason why Rosengarten is going to go higher is because of his testing. He tests really well. He moves really well. That's a great sign. And there's plenty to work with there. But I would much prefer a guy like Rosengarten. Like 63, I think would be my ceiling for him. Ideally, you get him at 93. That would be the ideal scenario. DJ has Rosengarten at 67. So 67, which again, ceiling 63 feels about accurate. His testing is going to definitely be enough to be like, oh, that's definitely it's definitely there. So DJ has him at 63. Lance Zierlein has him projected as a second or third round draft pick. And that's because of the tape. That's what the tape says. His testing would say that he should be a potentially first round draft pick. His tape doesn't say he should potentially be a first round draft pick. I would say his tape is more indicative of a project than anything else. Uh, um, which side is the blind side on the Huskies? Right side or left side? Penix is definitely a lefty. Um, I, to me, I don't. That to me, that isn't a measure of if you're good or not. To me, a measure if you're good or not is what you produce and put on tape, and that's ultimately that's ultimately it. Like again, there's been so many prospects, the height, weight, speed, the Dorial Green Beckham's, right? If you took Dorial Green Beckham's numbers and you just evaluated him off his pure measurables and testing numbers, you'd be like, oh yeah, this guy's the next Megatron. But he was terrible. He was terrible on tape. Instabust. So for me in Rosengarten, I was on Rosengarten early. I was on Rosengarten at the same time I was on Troy Fautanu. So I watched them both at the same time. That was around the NFL draft, the NFL scouting combine. Watch both of them test. Watch both of them on tape, multiple games. Uh, Came away wanting a lot more from Rosengarten, and came away just insanely impressed with what's his name, Troy Fautanu. But hey, I mean, why not? Like, let me see. What do I have here? I'm just chilling today. I'm not on any real time constraints or time crunch. We're just kind of vibing. So if we just want to pull up some tape, and again, I much prefer show you what I'm talking about than try to explain what I'm talking about, because I do believe that the eye, what do they say? The eye in the sky doesn't lie. Um, let's go to Washington versus Oregon. Rosengarten had a really bad game against. Oh, they're not going to let me show the tape because of the stupidity. Uh, mm, how do I work around this? But I'm down to watch some tape. Oh, let's see here. I'm gonna have to try a workaround. StreamYard does this thing where it like lets me share my screen, and then there's other times where it's like, you know what, we're not gonna let you share your screen, and then it makes me shut down. Uh, it makes me shut down my browser, and I have to restart everything to be able to share my screen. But it did let me share directly from a file, so I'm gonna have to download it first. Um, but ooh, what was the question? I saw it earlier. Agreed, but there has to be chatter about putting your better tackle on your blind side. Uh Yes, I mean, I don't necessarily like Roger Rosengarten isn't the better tackle. Uh, so to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. For the simple fact that he's just not the better tackle. Um, yeah, I don't know. I never thought about it that way. Um, but if the argument is you're putting Rosengarten on the right to protect uh, Penix's blind side because he's the better tackle, then they're putting the wrong tackle on his blind side. Does that make sense? Like I think Rosengarten could potentially be a better pro, and he does like he flashes. That's not my issue with him. My issue is consistency. The same issues that I have with Spencer Burford. Like Spencer Burford flashes. Spencer Burford shows like, yeah, he has what it takes to be an NFL offensive lineman. Um, and um, but the greatest, especially for offensive line, you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. So you can definitely gain more consistency. And Rosengarten, like, he's a winner. Like, that's another thing. He's like a state champ in basketball, I believe. He's just won pretty much everything he's done. He's a winner. Highly recruited. Um, so I'm not sitting here saying Rosengarten is a bum. I want to make that abundantly clear. I'm not saying he's a bust. I don't think that. I think there are project elements to his game that when you watch the tape, you see consistency issues that ultimately are like, all right, like because I saw his testing too, and I was like, oh, I gotta look into this a little bit further, um, and do my research on him, and I watched him even more closely, and I was like, yeah, I still feel the same way. Let's see, does this work? Oh, it works. It works. Beautiful. How do I control it though? Oh, I got to control on the screen. All right. So far, nothing crazy's popped out. This one he's going up against Dolores. Is a was that a quick pass? Gets it off to was that Odunze? All right. What do we got? Okay. Ooh. Troy Fautanu in space. Oh, wait a second. So this is another guy that I think should be in consideration. No, is it number 1 or 3? I can't is Dorless is Dorless 3 or 1? I can't remember. Okay. Here's kind of a perfect example of like some of the things that concern me a little bit. So when you're looking at Rosengarten, I mean, he's the kick step isn't bad. He definitely opened up the gate a little bit wide. And then he gets chopped, head ducks. Like that position, not great. You're gonna probably get a swim around a swim, gets by him and has to hold to ensure it's not a sack. And the reason why it's not a sack is because you have a good quarterback who just gets the ball out before he gets drilled. Um, so like I said, he has the movement ability. He has the baseline to be a good offensive lineman. I don't think that's necessarily the case. There's just certain things that show up like this where again, like he doesn't stick on his blocks. Like that was my biggest when watching the tape, it was my biggest thing is like, see, one is in control this entire time. Eyes inside, then you see the running back threaten outside. So one goes back to the outside and then cuts back across. Like, do you do you kind of see what I'm trying to get at a little bit? Like, he has the potential to be good, but these kinds of things, like, I want to see him engage and drive and drive and drive and not let the defender peek inside, right? Peek inside, go outside, then come back inside, make the tackle. So with, but I guarantee, I bet we'll get a good play here. Like I wouldn't say these are like super bad or anything. Like that was pretty good. That was good right there. See, this one I like. Not opening up the gate. You're gonna get a bit of a loop. Guy's gonna crash inside. Handles that well. That's a good block. That's a great job right there. So see, just some consistency things. He's capable. He's definitely capable. I think this guy is going to be an NFL offensive lineman. I just think if we're talking about an offensive lineman at pick 31, you it's the same argument I've made. Is you're looking for a guy who's not a project. Like you see how he gets kind of shoved off his base right here? Like those are Mike McGlinchey feet right there. See the feet? See those feet, how close they are together and how he almost ends up on his butt? Like there's refinement needed. He and again, I'm not here to like crap on Roger Rosengarten. I'm just trying to explain some of my and I haven't even watched him against Oregon, so this is the first time I'm watching him against Oregon. I watched him against multiple other teams. Here's another example of Roger on the ground. So um again, uh just some consistency things that need to be cleaned up. Uh he's got the base that you'll want to work with. He's got the frame, the size, the speed. He's got those things. Just want to see it translate a little bit better onto the football field. That's all. That's it. That's why I just don't like it at 31. Now we're talking six like that. Phenomenal block. Great block. This is exactly how you coach it. So what do we got? Is a little counter tray? Yeah, we got a little counter tray. Uh guard goes for a kick out. Technically, if you're reading the guard, you're supposed to cut up into the hole, but I actually think this was the better route. He gets onto the outside shoulder of two, helmet on the outside, rolls the block. Beautiful. Great job. Great job. And again, this is why I'm not a huge fan of like, oh, he hasn't given up sacks. Like he doesn't give up a sack here because his quarter He's got a really good quarterback. Uh, so the things where he stands out, looks he's okay in the run game, but he definitely shows some signs of concern in the pass blocking game. You see? So again, like we are 3 minutes in, we probably have 4 or 5 examples of concerns, and we have, I think, 2 examples of quality. And when you're trying to evaluate offensive line, you're really trying to find the consistency. You're trying to find those types of things. So Rosengarten at 31, I would not love. I would not love that. Um, I think that would be a reach. I don't think his tape indicates 31. Uh, I think his tape definitely indicates later. But look at Troy. What a dog. Freaking love Troy, man. I love Troy. Give me Troy. Troy's so good, man. What a what a dot. That's a good rep right there. That's a good rep. Good rep by Rosengarten. Decent rep by Rosengarten. Ooh, almost got knocked over on that one. So his contact balance scares me. His contact balance, like one of the reasons why I love Troy is his contact balance. Contact balance is elite. Like he is not falling off blocks. Um, you can you I don't know if I've been able to kind of showcase like the differences in like where the concerns lie. And again, this isn't me saying he's a terrible prospect. It's trying to identify the reasons why I wouldn't feel particularly good about them taking him at 31. Um, I honestly wouldn't feel particularly good about them taking a multiple offensive linemen at 31. Um, but I would say I would feel less confident about that. That's a good rep. So I think you can see like my concern comes from consistency, and he shows signs where he's got it one play, next play, not so much. Like that was a good play. Watch this. Watch this. This was great. 33 got cooked. Or no, it wasn't 33, is this other guy. This is a pancake by Rosengarten. Great. Great rep. Great rep. Scored touchdown off Troy Fautanu's side. Bro, Washington's crazy, dog. Better rep. Oh, held up pretty well. Who'd that come from? Oh, look at Troy's hips are crazy. Crazy, man. So, anyways, I think you get the point. That's where my concerns lie. My concerns lie in inconsistency, contact balance. He can get a little Mike McGlinchey in pass protection. Uh, I don't know if there's anything I know about this fan base. They don't like that. So, like I said, 63 is a different story. Uh, 31, oof, well, that would be brutal. But you never know. You never know how they're going to develop into the next level. But yeah, um, I see a lot of things to work on, and I feel like if you're trying to again, you're picking in the first round, you want to do your best to get a guy who's as polished as possible, and that can be really challenging at 31, which is I think why we've talked about a trade up and all those different types of things. But hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But shout out to everyone for vibing today. Just hanging out, talking 49ers. I agree. BPA. I think Rosengarten's the kind of guy who has A plus intangible qualities, like competitor, leadership, locker room guy. I think that's worth something. I think again, I think Rosengarten's best suited in this second, third round. Uh, tests really well, good athlete, probably high character grade. Uh, Inconsistent contact balance is a concern. Inconsistent pass protection. Again, it's just inconsistencies, and that's sometimes you can coach it out of guys, sometimes you can't. So that's got to be a risk that you're willing to take. Do you think you can coach consistency into them? If you can, take your shot. But for me, just a little too inconsistent for my liking, at least from what I've seen. But we'll see what happens. I can't believe it's draft week. Draft on Thursday. It's here, baby. It's here. All the waiting has finally come to an end. We're gonna have BA resolution one way or the other. We're going to know who the next guys uh, are going to be for the squad. What am I doing for the draft? I'm still kind of figuring that out. I'm supposed to be doing this like crazy mock draft with Bleacher Report with like 31 other creators on Wednesday. So that's going to be very interesting. Um, but draft day, I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do it. Uh, we might just do a first round watch party. Might just do first round watch party reactions to picks. I mean, why not? Reactions to things that happen. Obviously, newsworthy stuff. I'll have to actually. I'm gonna do a test right now. Can I? Can I do a recording while I'm live? Let me test something really quick. Okay, so I'm live. Let me record. So let's say we're doing a live and something breaks and I need to make a video. And I say, oh, okay, we had some breaking news, reset. Blah, 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 blah. End recording. Ooh, I think that will work. Ooh, I think we might have our workaround. We'll figure it out. Good chance that we will probably do a first round watch party. We'll figure it out. Justin says, Brad, have you looked at Rakestraw? How would you feel if he was pick 31? I haven't looked at him yet. But I will. I will. So we'll see. Shout out to everyone for tapping in. Happy draft week to you all. Hopefully 49ers get better. Hopefully everything is good to go. Appreciate all you guys. I'm out of here for now. Smash that like button on your way out on YouTube. Appreciate y'all. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.